I've always believed that careful planning could fix almost anything. At 35, as a single mother and full-time accountant, I live my life by lists, spreadsheets, and calendar alerts. It's how I've survived every unexpected bill, every broken promise, and every long night after my father walked out when I was 20. This morning, I stood in the middle of my backyard, breathing in the crisp October air. The sun was bright enough to make the pink balloons on the fence sparkle like gemstones. My daughter Mila's 9th birthday had to be perfect. I'd spent weeks planning it. 9 place settings with crown-folded napkins, a rented bounce house shaped like a princess castle, and a custom pixel princess cake based on her favorite video game. Every detail was meant to make her feel celebrated, special, and loved. I checked my watch. 11:42 a.m. My family, my mother Eleanor and my sisters Savannah and Lacey, were supposed to arrive at 11 to help set up. They were late as usual. I tried to push away the familiar knot forming in my stomach. "Mom!" Mila twirled out onto the deck in a sparkling purple dress, her curls bouncing. "Is it time? Where's Grandma and Aunt Savannah and Aunt Lacey? Did they see the bounce house?" Her excitement was a sunbeam, and I couldn't let a cloud of disappointment darken it. "They're on their way, sweetie," I said with a practiced smile. But deep down I knew better. When the doorbell rang, Mila's face lit up like the candles waiting on her cake. She sprinted to the front door. But it wasn't Grandma or her aunts. "Hi, sweetheart." Aunt Carol, my mother's older sister, stood there holding a beautifully wrapped gift with silver ribbon. Her gray hair was tucked under a lavender scarf, and her smile was warm and steady, the kind of smile that never let you down. "Is Grandma coming with you?" Mila asked, clutching her hands together. Carol glanced at me. I didn't need her to say a word. Her eyes said it all. "I came alone this time, sweetheart," Carol said gently. Mila's shoulders drooped, just a little, like a balloon losing air. She turned and ran inside. "She's not coming, is she?" I whispered to Carol. She shook her head slowly. I felt my phone buzz in my pocket. Text from my mother. "Just a kid's party." This wasn't just any party. It was my daughter's 9th birthday. As classmates began to arrive, 8 little girls with glittery gift bags, the backyard filled with laughter. The Princess Castle bounce house wobbled with joy, and the cake glistened under its clear cover. Mrs. Wilson, my elderly neighbor, brought homemade sandwiches. Another neighbor lent extra chairs. Everything looked perfect, except for the empty chairs meant for my family. Mila ran to the gate every few minutes, hoping to see them walk up the path. "When are Grandma and the aunts coming?" she asked. Each time I told her they were on their way, even though the truth sat heavy in my chest. As I handed out cake slices and refilled juice cups, I scrolled through my phone, needing a second to breathe. There it was, Savannah's Instagram story. Fancy brunch. My mother, Savannah, Lacey, and little Tyler, my 5-year-old nephew, were at a restaurant downtown. Glasses clinking, smiles wide, the caption rear. The words burned. I had maxed out my credit card to buy them Christmas gifts last year. $8.40 worth. I'd lent Savannah $1,650 to keep her struggling salon afloat. I'd covered Lacey's overdraft fees more times than I could count. And all my mother ever said was, "Maya's good with numbers. She can handle it." But she couldn't even handle showing up for Mila. When Mila opened her gifts, her hands trembled slightly. "Did Grandma forget my birthday?" she asked in a small voice that splintered my heart. Carol squeezed her shoulder. "She has a terrible memory, sweetheart. Maybe you'll get a surprise later." Later never came. The sun set, and the guests left, balloons bobbing in the wind. In the kitchen, I stood over a mountain of dishes, tears blurring the soap suds. Outside, Carol played with Mila in the bounce house for a little while longer, trying to keep her magic alive. Then another text from my mother popped up. During the party, during my daughter's birthday, something cracked inside me. A quiet, almost invisible break, but deep. I whispered to myself, "No more." A week later, the balloons had deflated, their strings tangled against the fence. The bounce house was long gone. But the ache of that day lingered like an echo I couldn't turn off. Every morning, I packed Mila's lunch with a peanut butter sandwich cut into triangles, apple slices arranged like a smile, and a tiny heart-shaped note tucked inside. These small routines kept me grounded. I've built my life on careful math. $1,025 for rent, $187.32 for utilities, $420 for groceries. Every dollar had a place. Every cent had a purpose. Mila's braces were coming up soon, an expense I'd already started saving for. Then the family group chat buzzed. Lacey, Maya will cover Grandma's share like always, right? Eleanor, proud of my girls. Family means everything. Attached was a glossy PDF. Sweet 26. A night to remember. Savannah's redo of her Sweet 16 party. $1,850 per guest. My name was printed on the sponsorship page as Platinum Sponsor. Maya Allen, complete with my LinkedIn photo. My hands shook. I hadn't agreed to any of this. Mila toddled over with a Lego tower. Mom, can you help me with this part? She asked. I told her, in a minute, sweetheart, but her smile faded just a little, the same way it had at her party. I opened my bank account. $4,213.47. That was supposed to cover braces, not a party I didn't even want to attend. Scrolling through Venmo, I saw the story of my life in numbers. $650 for Savannah's salon, emergency. $420 for my mother's patio furniture. $840 for Christmas. A running total of $23,470. Unpaid. I thought of Grandma Rose. She'd taught me about financial responsibility and self-respect. She'd also been the only one who ever truly showed up. She would have been appalled at how much of myself I'd poured into people who didn't pour back. Later, Aunt Carol dropped by with a casserole, as she often did. She took one look at my face and asked softly, "They've done something again, haven't they?" I showed her the brunch post, the sponsorship PDF, the group chat. Carol sighed. "Your mother's always been like this. You were the responsible one. She's leaned on you since your father left." Mrs. Wilson stopped by too, bearing banana bread like an anchor. She'd seen the comings and goings. She'd watched me cover my family's crises over the years without ever asking for anything in return. Mila later showed me a drawing she'd made at school, 2 stick figures labeled "My Family." Just her and me. Single house. No cousins. No grandma. That night, I overheard her whispering a prayer. I pressed my fist to my mouth to keep from making a sound. The next morning, a forwarded email landed in my inbox. Accidentally sent by Lacey. It was a contract for the Sweet 26 party. Signed 3 weeks before Mila's birthday. They'd planned to skip it. I opened my laptop and built a spreadsheet. $1 lent. Each day taken off work for their crises. 14 vacation days used for things like Savannah's surgery, Lacey's job interviews she never showed up to, Eleanor's redecorating weekend. 14 days I could have spent with Mila. Scrolling Facebook, I found a new post from my mother. "So blessed with my girls." I was cropped out of the photo. That was the moment the fog lifted. It wasn't just neglect. It was a pattern. I wasn't their daughter or sister. I was their safety net. Mila's little tea party that weekend, with only stuffed animals in attendance, made everything painfully clear. For years, I'd convinced myself that giving more would make them love me. But love doesn't come with a price tag. I looked down at my phone and opened Venmo. I wasn't going to send $1,850. This time I was going to send something else entirely. The next day I stared at the Venmo request like it was a live wire. $1,850. Grandma's share. Savannah's party. I typed $1. Memo, congrats. My thumb hovered, then tapped send. I screenshotted the transaction and saved it to a new folder on my phone. Boundaries. It was the first step. By noon I'd called a locksmith. Frank arrived in a blue jumpsuit at 2:15 p.m. "New locks mean new rules," he said as he replaced the doorknob. It cost $175, less than the average family emergency I usually covered. While Mila napped, I emailed the hotel hosting the Suite 26 party, attaching screenshots proving they'd used my name without permission. Within an hour, I received an apology and confirmation that my name was removed. For the first time in a long time, I felt the weight on my chest loosen. That evening, Mila and I had spaghetti for dinner. She laughed as sauce splattered on her chin. We watched cartoons curled up on the couch. I whispered to myself, "This is enough." But peace has a way of drawing storms. At 8:47 p.m. the doorbell rang. Through the peephole I saw my mother, flanked by Savannah and Lacey. Their faces were tight with anger. "Maya Allen, open this door right now," my mother barked. Mila peeked out from the hallway. "Is that Grandma?" she whispered. "Yes, sweetheart," I said softly. "But it's too late for visitors. This isn't respectful." The pounding grew louder. "You're betraying us," Savannah screamed. "You embarrassed us," Lacey added. "You always think you're better than us." Neighbors emerged onto their porches. Mr. Patterson crossed his arms. The Rodriguez family peered from behind their curtain. Then came the flashing lights. The police arrived not because I called them but because they did. Officer Thompson, who coached Mila's soccer team, stepped out of the car. His calm presence filled the tension. Eleanor started immediately, hands waving. "She's withholding family property. She's threatening us. I opened the door halfway and held out my phone. "Officer, I've supported them financially for years." Tonight I said no. That's the only crime I've committed. I showed him the Venmo transaction. Text. The email from the hotel. His jaw tightened. Not in judgment but understanding. "They're used to you handling everything," he said quietly. "Changing rules is hard. But it's not a crime." He spoke to them outside, calmly but firmly. 10 minutes later they left, my mother jabbing a finger at me. After I locked the door, I found Mila sitting on my bed with her stuffed rabbit. Her eyes were wide and wet. "Am I not important enough? Is that why Grandma and my aunts didn't come to my birthday?" The question tore through me. I knelt down, cupping her face. "You are the most important person in my world. Sometimes people make bad choices. That doesn't mean you're not loved. It just means we have to protect our hearts." That night I blocked their numbers. I updated my will to ensure Mila would be protected. And I joined an online support group for adult children of dysfunctional families. Aunt Carol called when she heard. "About time," she said gently. "You're doing the right thing." Mrs. Wilson brought over tea and offered to help with anything we needed. As I tucked Mila in, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. And it wasn't because they were gone. It was because I finally said no. The months that followed were quiet in the best possible way. Without the constant drain of family demands, my savings grew. I finally scheduled Mila's braces consultation. We even planned a small weekend trip to the lake. A first for just the two of us. At work, my focus sharpened. James, a coworker who'd often covered my shifts, became a close friend. I earned a promotion. It wasn't just the money. It was the lightness. Aunt Carol visited every Friday, bringing recipes from Grandma Rose's kitchen. She and Mila baked cookies, told stories, and laughed until their cheeks hurt. My mother and sisters tried to reach me through mutual friends. They sent vague apologies wrapped in guilt, but I didn't let them back in. Savannah's Suite 26 party happened without my sponsorship. Instagram showed a much smaller crowd and a forced smile on my mother's face. Tyler, my nephew, sent me a drawing through Carol. I kept it because he's just a child, and innocent in the storm. But I also knew that protecting Mila meant keeping certain doors closed. Mrs. Wilson became more like family. She hosted playdates for Mila. Officer Thompson checked in, not as a cop, but as a community friend. One evening, Mila showed me a new drawing. This time, the stick figures included Aunt Carol, Mrs. Wilson, her school friends, and me. "This is our family now," she said proudly. Tears blurred my vision, but they were warm, not bitter. Her bedtime prayers changed too. I started writing about my experiences anonymously on a blog. Stories about boundaries, self-respect, and healing. Other people began sharing their own. It grew into a community, a reminder that I wasn't alone. When Mila's next birthday came around, we didn't have a bounce house or a custom cake that cost a fortune. Instead, we had her friends, Carol, Mrs. Wilson, and laughter that echoed through the backyard. She didn't look at the gate once, and I didn't look at my phone. A few months later, I used part of my savings for therapy. I finally faced the abandonment I'd felt since my father left, the guilt my mother had wrapped around me like a blanket. I learned that love without boundaries isn't love. Servitude. One day, an envelope arrived in the mail. A letter from my mother. A half-hearted apology written in her looping handwriting. I read it. I smiled softly. I placed it in a drawer. Not to reopen the wound, but to remind myself how far I'd come. Mila is thriving. Her smile, now complete with braces, lights up every room. She has friends who show up. Community that cares. And me. I finally understand that family isn't defined by blood. It's defined by love, respect, and showing up. That night, as we lay on the grass outside, looking up at the stars, Mila whispered, "Mom, we're really happy, aren't we?" "Yes, sweetheart," I said. "We really are."